representations expressed on the K-Ghost Radio Network and its website are those of the host, guests, and participants. UFO Talk Radio can, but does not necessarily promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and they are not intended to treat or diagnose and/or claim to cure any disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. All music is purchased and owned by LGA Broadcasting.
I got the windows rolled down, got the radio up, and I'm heading out of Vegas tonight. And it's a 1:30 on a 4-day run, and the desert is a welcome sight. I can see you there in that dress you wear, and it's keeping my foot on the gas. I drink a gallon of Joe just to make it back home and hold you in my arms at last.
From deep in the desert of Nevada, broadcasting to the world, it's the Glenn Larry Show. Are you ready? What you are about to experience is real. Right along with us. From deep in the desert of Nevada, the Glenn Larry Show.
And I am here, everybody. How much fun are we going to have tonight? I can't wait. I have a friend of mine on the line. He'll be on very soon. You've heard him before, Mr. Thomas. Great man. Has got some great ideas. Fun stuff to talk about. We've covered from ghosts to UFOs, you name it. We don't talk about politics. I'm sorry. I've had enough of that. And we stay away from, hard religion stuff. But with history and about stuff, about ghosts and UFOs, if it ties in, we'll talk about it. Okay? I get that. Right. Okay. As you can see on the line board up there, it's what if and open lines. And we'll talk about ghosts. We're going to talk about some UFO stuff and some latest reports, of course. I hope your week was good. Mine was very, 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 very busy. It came to be where I was taking care of a friend's house and the little doggy, and then got back into town, and the film crew was here. I forgot all about it. But here they were, and we got that done. It was kind of a grueling experience. It was interesting. These guys are professionals, I'll tell you. And learned a little bit myself, to tell you the truth. Good Springs, of all places, I'll tell you, has really ramped up. And my little village here in Good Springs, Nevada, you know where we're at. Oh, of course you do. Oh, by the way, I want to welcome all my friends out there that are listening from all over the world, small businesses and, of course, the small broadcasters out there. Hello to you, all the affiliates out there, all night drivers. I'm not leaving you out. And whatever time zone you might be listening to us at, you're hearing us now. It's Pacific Northwest time, my time is. And as you can see, it's up almost 5 after the top of the hour of 7 o'clock, our time. Yes. But anyway, back to all this ghost stuff happening. I don't know what it is. If it's something going on with the sun flares or something, the Earth's doing something. But I've had a lot of psychics tell me that, my gosh, things are kind of ramping up. It's really, things are happening, Larry. I don't mean happening. No, things are like happening. People are seeing more things. They're opening more things. They're seeing and hearing. And people don't even believe in this stuff are seeing it now. Even with the UFOs, sightings with UFOs. So what's happened in the last month that would change something? Do you have the answer for me? I'd sure like to know. We'll be back right after this.
There's no typical meth user. I was from an upper middle class family. Meth is terribly addictive. My first time using it, I was hooked. There was no turning back. I lost my job. I was homeless. I never thought I'd see my family again. I have a great fear of meth because it took so much of me. I mean, it took everything. Meth took over my soul.
Visit our website at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
Thank you kindly for that one. Well, no, the answer is, what is the answer? Why are these things happening? On the line, I have a friend of mine and a friend of yours in radio. Mr. Thomas, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Larry.
Nice to have you back on the air. We expect some calls tonight. It would be really nice. And we picked Wednesday night. I know it kind of changed something up on you because a lot of people go, you're on Wednesday nights. They seem to like it more. Monday, Tuesday, you're in the grind, things are going on. Then Wednesday, things kind of get kind of cool, kind of calm down, the little hump deal going on there. And now you're listening to the show. And nice to have you on. What do you think about all this ramping up of this ghost stuff? Have you heard about that? I've been reading about it myself.
I have heard about it, and it is exciting. And I do think that it's linked to the activity with the sun because
Okay.
we've had people in areas like in Florida or around the border area
Mm-hmm.
between Mexico and the United States actually seeing the northern lights. And that's rare.
Oh, yeah.
And the solar storms that are, hitting the planet, I think are providing the energy to increase the activity.
And with that activity and sensitivity that these folks may have being psychic and also be able to see a UFO. I say once you've seen one, you can see many because it changes something about you. You think that's a part of it also, maybe?
Well, I think so. I mean,
It's a vibration, it's a frequency, it's does weird things with ham radio, I'll tell you that much.
right. And we're also, our bodies have electrical processes to it. So anything that's electrical outside of it will affect us.
Right. Yeah,
And that could be, I think, and people will feel that if you walk by a large electrical panel, you will feel an effect.
right.
And so, with all the activity that we've had with the sun and the solar storms, anybody that already has developed their gifts as a psychic, I think it would increase those abilities. And
Mm-hmm.
people that haven't really gone through the training but have the those abilities, which I think everyone does, but just flip the switch and people are more sensitive. And all due to the increased solar activity.
Some of the weird stuff I've been hearing lately. I had some off-roaders that I frequently talk to. They're up here off in the desert doing their things, and they can visit these old mines and stuff,
Uh-huh.
And of course, these mines are closed, and they're very well, may I say, closed off. You can't get into them, but you can look through cracks and whatever. You can feel the draft, between the boards and whatever. And these guys pulled over, get something to drink. It was hot and dusty, and up by this mine, there's a lot of little off roads to go and what have you. And one guy says, "I hear someone speaking, calling us." And they go, real quiet. And they could hear it. And it was coming from the mine shaft. And they got closer and closer and closer, and they could hear some screaming going on. But that mine had not been open forever, for years. And they're hearing these sounds and seeing certain things in the dark. Certain light going through that boards. They could see certain things happening. Now that's pretty crazy. And that one just happened the other day. There's a lady that walks down this road here. In fact, she walks in front of my house once in a while when I can see her. And she was walking down the road. And I looked at her and I go, "Oh, man, I got to go talk to this lady. Hey, can I help you? Is everything okay? Type of thing, And she just waved at me and kept walking. And I looked down for just a second and she wasn't even there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. And the school kids were saying that, when the dusk is getting a little dark, around 6 o'clock, what have you, and they were playing ball at the school, and they're walking back down the road there, and by this big bushy tree, they were saying about this family of four, mom and dad and two kids, standing together on the corner, just watching them play. And they got closer and closer. One kid had a flashlight, because it was getting dark. The kids, and hit them with a light, and they weren't even there. That happened just recently, and the kids are scared. I mean, they're freaked out. I would be too, being a kid seeing that. An adult, I still would be freaked out. Also, I'm sure you would be too. Yeah, a little crazy.
Oh, it is crazy. And also, too, I think, the different stories, the one that really kind of scared me there, what you were talking about, is the one with the mine shaft. That just gives me the willies.
Yeah, like
And hearing it, and it's like, that experience I wouldn't want to have.
no.
I used to play around with ghost hunting, and I have some of the equipment.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter and myself, we went to a local cemetery.
Mm.
And there's a question for people out there tonight: is what's the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard? But anyways, aside from that,
I get the answer later, don't I? Go ahead.
yeah. Well, somebody should call in, and if they know the answer to that,
Yep.
and no fair googling it either.
Yeah, right. They will.
I know. But anyways, we went to a cemetery, and it's close to a college. And so as we were doing the ghost hunting, I could hear, it sounded like people were on the other side of the cemetery. And I thought they were laughing at us and talking about, oh, look at those people down there that are ghost hunting. And, you could hear the murmuring and everything. And I decided, I'm going to go down there and talk to them and, find out what they think is so funny. And so I got in my car and I drove down there to the other end of the graveyard, and I got out.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody there.
Nobody.
There was not a single person. And I was looking around to see if there was a trail that went to the college.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were there and left, but there wasn't. And this cemetery at the time was surrounded by a creek, so nobody was gonna, get away from the area without you knowing.
Mm.
So there was no one there, but both of us heard the murmuring, and you really could tell there was something there. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, and then also too, that same day, my daughter actually got pushed from behind, and I saw the handprints on her back.
Whoa.
Her shirt.
Whoa. Was it a welt or a handprint? You said
No, it was
handprint.
it was. You could see the handprints in her shirt
Oh,
as
okay.
she got pushed.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So and so and during the ghost hunting, it's like, how do you explain those kind of things?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
After that, what does your daughter do?
She swore that she would never go ghost hunting again, and she hasn't.
Yeah. I don't blame her.
But to me, the experience wasn't that frightening because it was daytime
Right.
and just murmuring. But when you mentioned that story about the mine shaft, even in just thinking about that, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want to have that particular kind of ghost experience.
No. I've been getting some reports from some folks here too that on these roadsides, we have a little highway coming up to Good Springs, up there, a little village up here, and you'll see crosses on the side of the roads lit up with these little candles that are run by solar, and these are normally folks that died there, got in an accident, went off the road and got killed, or and sometimes there'll be two crosses there, two folks that passed away. Went to the other side, and what's been happening, the reports that I've been getting, because they do the Kagos radio, they give me a lot of stuff, and that they were driving down the road and they would pass by these little sites, little monument sites, and no one would be there. Just the site would be with the cross and the light, and as they looked in their rear view mirror, as they looked in the back behind the vehicle, they could see a person standing there as they're driving away, as they're driving past that grave or that monument. where the guy's last breath was, or their last breath was. And you look in the rearview mirror there, and all of a sudden, you see someone standing there. And it's happened several times. And that's kind of weird. But, yeah.
Yeah, it would be weird. And the whole situation is interesting as far as, I mean, you could ask numerous questions, and a good friend of mine made a statement that wondering away the wonder.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that's what that's what we do, because when you get involved in thinking about, or hunting supernatural things, I think you should take it a little bit too far sometimes.
Well, there's
Wonder away the wonders.
yeah. There are so much out there that we don't know, and there's so much that we do know, and there's so much that we make up. People make up a lot of stuff. And
Right.
for the folks that really go through this stuff, it must be really, I mean, for myself, I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't tell it all. They would think I was nuts or whatever, but now they're kind of getting more open-minded about a lot of things. So people can tell their stories and things that have happened to them and to family members and all that. Looks like we're getting some hits from Memphis, Tennessee. I hope you guys are doing okay over there. Provo, Utah, Olympia, Washington, Seattle, Tacoma. Looks like Portland's on the line there. Hello out to you guys out there watching us. Numerous calls. So thank you. Okay, you're welcome. It says Dave from Tumwater. Hello, David, and Fairbanks, Alaska. How about that? Tillamook, Washington, also. Huh, that's neat. Murray, Idaho. Nice. Great Falls, Montana, Helena. Nice. Canada. Got the hits again. Becoming a little more slow there, guys. I need more of you. Get the word out there. Yeah, Canada. Good to have you on. Of course, my friends up there, Neil and Barbara in London. And I just talked to them the other day. And Ken and D in Florida. Yeah, hope they're doing well. I know that they got some damage on the house. He was on a couple of weeks ago. And our buddy Jonathan, of course, Chief Hall and Avondale and Station 23 and all the fire EMS folks down there working hard and doing well. I guess they had some type of a parade or something that happened the other day. That's kind of cool. Yeah, hello to you all. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on the YouTube and on TikTok. Follow us, please. It's kind of cool stuff. K-Ghost Radio on TikTok. The best of Barbara and other people we've had on. And I actually watched them the other night. And I'm howling. Because, you see, I hear them talk. I go on with the radio program, but I kind of forget what was said. Sometimes it's really good. And I remember. But then you go back and watch this stuff. And I'm watching my face. I'm going, I don't believe it. You're on television now. You're not just doing radio behind the microphone. No one can see you. But yeah, how much fun is that? In that, having a lot of fun with some new stuff too. I think I was telling you earlier, Mr. Thomas, about the radio side and things where we work on some new stuff. We have midnighttalkradio.com, and we have some other stuff coming up. So it's going to be kind of cool how we're going to adjust all that. But the first of next year, it's going to be big and wild, new things happening. You can hear more about K-Ghost than you've ever heard before, I'll tell you that much. So we're looking forward to that. Yes, sir. Well, another thing that had happened up here, not only for the little monuments by the when the person got hit in their accident area, accident scene cross. I don't know, what do you call those? Monument crosses, I would think. I guess, but in our local little cemetery, graveyard cemetery, we'll talk about that in a minute. Things have been seen. Orbs, a lot of orbs. People are taking pictures and getting a lot of orbs lately. And I can tell you it's a ramped up thing. A neighbor of mine, this happened a while back though. They had only lived in town for maybe 6 months, and they were coming home late. Must have been around 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:15 ish, whatever. And they were coming up to the cemetery where you come up the road, and they actually had to pull over because there were like 7 people walking up the road to Good Springs and past certain lights, these street lights, and with lanterns. and they were just walking up the road like a little cluster of people there, and they get into the odd thing that they got into the more of a darkness, whatever. They just they're gone. They were gone, and he swears to this. He's told me this story 4 or 5 times. I got to get him on there to tell the story because it's kind of really weird when he tells it, But
Right.
that's pretty creepy, It's like
Uh-huh.
let's all take a walk. Everybody up, let's go. Yeah, what the heck? And they're carrying lanterns, but he said they were in old clothes and old lantern. It looked just really weird. But the miners back in those days, that's what they carried around, old lanterns. And that's where that place was at. Those graves are pretty old. So
Right.
what is the magic question between cemetery and graveyard? What is the difference? Does anybody want to call? I'm gonna open the lines. Why don't we do that? Let's open
Okay.
those lines up. Let's do that.
To talk with Glenn Larry, deep in the desert of Nevada, lines are open at 1-702-874-1114. That's 702-874-1114. Pahrump lines are open at 775-990-8275. That's 775-990-8275.
Okay, 874-1113. 702-874-1113 is also open on 1114. So let's get some folks on the line. Give us a call with your ghost story and what's been happening to you. We'd have what if questions coming up also. We'll start that pretty soon too. Okay, Mr. Thomas, I'm dying to know. I'm really dying to know, but I'd like to know the story about what's the difference. It might be so
Okay,
simple.
well-
So simple. I know it, but I mean, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard is that the graveyard is part of a church and a cemetery is not.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So when you go to a church, they'll have a graveyard, as part of their property. And in it's like the cemetery I was talking about. There's no churches there. It's just
Just a cemetery, like,
a place for people to put people to rest.
and so the graveyard. So this is the yard of the church.
Correct.
Got you. So our church has a yard, but it's full of graves of passing people. Interesting. They don't have flowers, but they got graves. Yeah, but I'm sure there's some churches that have some nice flowers in their backyards, whatever the yard. That's it, huh? That's the story. That,
Right. Well, that's something that I didn't know. And when I heard
yeah.
about it, I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting.
yeah. My goodness gracious. I had when I was a younger man. We went to some graveyards. Actually, it was one in Tumwater, Washington, and we were just kind of straightening up the graves, kind of cleaning it up real nice. And but there were some old graves there. You stepped in the wrong area, it went right through the casket, wooden old casket. I mean, they collapsed, and it happened. Freaked me out, man. Oh, really freaked me out. But and this is a graveyard that folks have just let, or a cemetery, excuse me, that they just let go. Either someone owned it some at one time, and they have the new cemetery. It's normally close by or whatever the new part of it. But the old part looked like it was just by itself on just a side of the road, a bunch of overgrown whatever. And this is happening all over. Do you know that? Do you know that there are even mortuaries that are closed up and out of business, and they just left everything there, the caskets and everything else? And that's pretty. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those.
That's a little freaky, man. But that's
It is.
It's a building, I guess. Like if you look at it that way, it's just a business that went out of business, and it's a dead business, I guess. I don't know how you say it, but they went out of business. Boy, did they go out of business. they were realistic about it. But yeah, unbelievable. When I see this stuff, it kind of freaks me out a little bit, though. To remind the folks out there also, we're on 101.3 AM 1610, FM 101.3, community hobby radio out there. So we're being heard all over the place, even on the internet, all over the world. Gosh, I just love radio. tell you for sure. Yeah, I'll put this up so they can see that. Yeah, but imagine that. Yeah, you get these places that are. I mean, what are you going to do with it? They're not going to make anything out of the building. I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they could. I remember where I used to live in California. There was a old mortuary that they made into a real estate office.
Oh boy, just dying to get to business.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, the thing was that the agents in that office used to always talk about the fact that even after hours, that the phones would ring and there would be nobody on the other end when they pick up the phone. It'd just be a dial tone,
Mm.
and it was just random.
Yeah.
And it got to a point that they started to feel that there was a connection between the phones and what the building used to be.
Yes. Or all the phones
So,
would ring at once, all ring together. That's kind of crazy.
right. And I don't know if I think I would work at home at that point. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you know what, though? That's the thing. Some of the experiences with this seem kind of benign, if not humorous, whereas some of them aren't. And so I guess I just start to wonder if there's a difference in experiences. If sometimes it's just the past replaying itself and you're seeing that and you can't really interact with it, you're just like a witness.
Yeah.
And if in some instances that it actually is an entity, that is appearing
Right.
before you, but then it brings up other questions that opens other doors. Is why haven't they moved on?
Right.
Why are they like hanging out in the cemetery
Yeah.
instead of
Why are they doing that? It's crazy.
yeah. So now when we do the ghost hunting, what we're doing is you would ask qualifying questions. Like we had a K2 meter, which is a series of lights that goes
Right.
from like green to red.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say if there's any entities here or any ghosts or anybody that wants just to communicate with us, you put your hand on the meter when you want to indicate a yes to the question. And then if it's a no, you take your hand off. Because when they put the hand on, then the lights would go. And if the hand goes off, then no lights. What we would do is ask like a series of qualifying questions. So it wasn't just like willy-nilly. There was, like a process that we were going through. Like you would ask questions, for instance, like, is it daytime? And then you would see what the response would be. And then you would throw in questions, are we in Canada? You would have questions that when
They'd
you were
have
done
to.
with, what's that?
Like they'd have to answer, not a yes or no. No, we're not in Canada. Well, where are we? Do they ever say I'm in Montreal or something? Or
No, they wouldn't. Their answer responses would either be yes or no. But at a certain point, you would have to figure that it's the intelligence behind the responses. If they're
right.
saying
Right.
yes to
Yes and no.
questions, like if they know that it's daytime and if they know that they're in a particular location,
Right.
and if they could indicate whether they're male or female, and then on the other questions where you're asking if they're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and they're saying no, and if you say asking if they're on a ship and they're saying no, if they're doing the yes and no's appropriately, after like about 15 questions, you have to consider that you are dealing with an intelligent being.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking enough questions where it goes beyond coincidence. Because there are things that can affect the meter. So what you're trying to do is set up a process to eliminate coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've seen that in action at that cemetery. We were getting, my daughter was the one that was actually getting quite a bit of responses from an entity that she was speaking with.
Do you think they choose who they want to talk with? Or do you think maybe?
Yes, I think so, because I didn't get a lot of activity myself other than hearing the voices on the other side of that particular cemetery.
Mhm.
And I was actually talking to a colleague back in those days about it. And he was in the past, I've been ordained as a minister. So he said because of being ordained as a minister, that could be a reason why the entities or whatever was there in the cemetery was staying away from me and not interacting.
Wow.
Now I don't know if that's true,
Danger,
but
danger.
I do know that my daughter was experiencing things, whereas I wasn't, other than hearing the voice. So I don't know, and then that gets to the question when we were talking about, if the different experiences with ghosts are different as far as, a view of the past replaying itself or actual entities showing up, maybe the energy, the way it is moving, like with the solar flare, is it create where the like time periods cross each other?
Mm.
So are there variations in experiences that they're different?
Mhm.
And one of those, scares me a little, is it's where it's something that it's a negative energy that's trying to trick us, that it's actually pulling information out of our minds and then using that information to make us think that we're having an experience that we really aren't.
Now there you go. That's interesting. Can they read our brains? Can they read our thoughts?
Right. And so when you think you're talking to Aunt Jane, you're not.
You're talking to
It's
Melvin. They
the
don't even know.
entity that is pulling the memories
Yeah.
that you have of Aunt Jane and
Yeah.
pretending to be
Mhm.
Aunt Jane.
You
Because in a way, it does pull us away from the Lord. And
Right.
if you want to take a religious slant on it, so I mean, is that what it's so with that kind of thing? You want to be aware.
I've got some friends in London, England, and not the two I talked about earlier, but they are really into what they call table tapping, where they'll take a small table that's made out of wood, just straight wood, not even varnished, just straight put together. It's very, very light, and they'll touch the table, yes and no on each side, and they'll ask the table questions, and then do this whole thing with their hands or whatever on the table, and the table actually will lift up and move around with them. Now that their hands are on top of the table, not from the bottom. Nothing, no rods going up the shirts. Everybody has their shirts sleeves rolled up, but this whole table would go round and round. I sent one to my friend, and I'll knock twice for yes and once for no. So that's kind of like a Ouija board thing, I think, but
Right.
apparently they're getting some other type of psychic energy of this table starting to float around. And of course, they're giggling and laughing about it. But, I'm thinking, man, that's a pretty powerful spirit. I wouldn't be doing that. You let something in that you can't get out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know where that's going to go or where it's coming from, but it's pretty crazy. And there's a lot of institutes over there in England that are into that, and some of them are quite well known. But
Right.
and
Psychology.
And some stuff happens. It's the real thing. It's focused. It's the real stuff. It's nothing that I do believe in them. I'm seeing ghosts, and I know they're there. But I'm pretty well grounded where I'm at, so that's where I'm coming from. But God, nothing to fool around with. If you have a Ouija board, get rid of it. God, kids think it's a game.
Also, too, talking about ghosts, it reminds me that my mom, Roberta, she mentioned that during one of your broadcasts that there was a ghost of a gunslinger standing right behind you. And he kind of had like a grin on his face, because he knew that he was there behind you, and I guess you were unaware, and so he thought that was amusing.
We're talking about ghosts that night too. You think?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think we were talking about ghosts, and he was standing right behind you. As you know, if my mom's listening, maybe she could call in and
Yeah.
add to that because she's
Right.
the one that actually saw it. But you know, we've been curious as to. He said it was a gunslinger,
Hmm.
and he had the period clothes, and so I don't know if anybody in Good Springs knows of any gunslingers from
Yeah,
that,
that would be
you know, in that
interesting
area.
that would be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to know who he was and that he was playing around, you know, with in the radio station there.
And they do.
Yeah,
I
right.
know that for sure. Yeah. Let's see. I got a picture here. I want to put up kind of fun picture that I got from a person sent this to me, and I thought it was kind of hilarious. But talk about gunslingers. I have a lot of Western wear, hats and coats and clothing of that time period. Of course, this is an old town. This is a cowboy type of town. By the way, the Pioneer Saloon, very well known since 1913 in Good Springs. By the way, I had breakfast there this morning, and kind of a late breakfast. It was a hamburger, pretty good. Anyway, yeah, they're going to have their Halloween party coming up here. I believe it's this Saturday. This Saturday, yeah. But there's that picture I put up of me as a cowboy there. Kind of interesting.
Oh yeah,
This
that's
other,
awesome.
this other one's here. I have a kind of a gun. There you go. I like that one better, to tell you the truth. And here I am as a cavalry, Southern Cavalry guy,
Oh yeah,
which
okay.
I have connections, feelings to. You know that? That's kind
Yes,
of odd, isn't
yes.
it? And I think that your mother picked up on that too. Your mother's a very, very psychic lady. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's
Interesting to talk to. But no, if you get a chance to stop by the Pioneer Saloon, everybody, they're great people, nice people to talk to, great place to go. And you might see me down
you'll
there.
never know who you'll see.
You never know. You might see, Glenn Larry there having a spirit or two.
There you go.
Have a spirit, will you? No, but had a boy, George. That's the spirit, George. Anyway, I have a good time. I go down there. They got a lot of things going on there. Great bands. Oh my God. Chris Sears comes down there and performs, and a bunch of other ones. If you go to their website, folks, Pioneer Saloon, look it up. It's the official one. You'll see it. A lot going on, and a fun place to go. I hope to see you there sometime. Yeah. Gosh, have you ever been to Pennsylvania, Kennett Square, PA, at 717 West Baltimore Pike? My good friend up there owns that. Yeah. Creekside Diner. And I'm going to go back there too, see her. I got a bunch of birthday cards I got to use up. But I could come and see her in that little kitchen back there. I've always wanted to own something like that. Little kitchen, little dinette, kind of fun. Yeah, she does a good job. Go back and see them. I'm going to head up back to PA to see a bunch of folks over there. Avondale, the fire folks, Chief Hall. He makes it out here a lot, though. Then it cheats me from going over there, God, I've, saved my dollars to go there. But no, he's a great guy. Love him dearly. Yeah. Yeah, but back to the ghost. I'm sure these people have seen ghosts in their areas, too. I'm quite sure about that, the Pioneer. There's ghosts there. Trust me. Trust me, there really is. And I know Karen probably has a couple of them hanging around. Some old customers, maybe. She's right next to a creek by water, so that means a lot. Things happen. Energy happens there. So you never know. But yeah, the ghosts are. I saw my mother. I saw Michael. I've seen a lot of folks that are not with us that had been gone, and it happened to see them, and they were no longer here on Earth. So they're as real as I'm looking at you. Maybe just a little bit transparent. I can see just a bit through them, a bit maybe, but they were there. They made the energy happen. Ectoplasma, what they called, I don't know. But I think it's earth, dust, and something else they create to get the effect. I don't know. You've read about that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, And also too, during the ghost hunting stuff, you will have equipment where the batteries get drained
Oh,
very quickly to nothing.
yeah. They're using that energy. Fascinating. Fascinating. My gosh. Well, now we have a question. What if? That's a big thing, huh? What if this? What about that? What if? And so much is going on with that. What if who wins or who does not win? What if we run out of food? What if we run out of water? What if the what ifs? What are the answer to some of the what ifs? The future. That's the future, right? What ifs? The what if? That's the future, correct? Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And so I said, go ahead.
Well, yeah, especially lately because of the fact that we have been seeing, the aurora borealis lights so far south, and we've been getting bombarded by solar storms. A lot of information has been coming out as far as, why and the effects of.
Right.
And there's a few scientists out there that are saying that, if you see the aurora borealis that far south, that as pretty as they are, that it's not a good thing, because it means that the magnetic field of the earth is weakened to a point that the radiation from the sun is making it through.
Right.
And also too, and people could look it up. This is something that's researchable. It's not something that's just made up, but that the on the surface of the earth you have telluric currents, and then the activity from the sun interacts with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened in the past. It seems to be happening in cycles. And according to some of the scientists, we're at one of the pinnacle points of a new cycle, where that if we get hit with a solar storm, it'll knock everything out that's electric.
Yes. No more radio
And-
show. We're off the air.
Right. Right. And it could, if it's severe enough, that would get to the point where anything electrical. So even if you have a generator, well, that has an electrical circuit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the listeners out there have heard about, the poles shifting, the magnetic poles where the North and the South Pole
Yes.
switching places. And that in itself, if that was to occur, you would have the same result, is everything that we have that's electrical would cease to function.
Right.
And that's something that, you and I talked a little bit about, is what happens if you wake up one morning and there's no electricity? What would you do? I mean, at first you would be waiting for it to come back
Yeah.
on.
Like, okay, maybe half an hour, we have electricity. And then.
Right. And then you look at your phone and that's not working either. So, you can't call to find out, if the electric company's out there working on it.
Yeah.
But since the vehicles would be knocked out as well, nobody would be working on it. But how long would you wait to see if the power comes back on? And
You
then
can't call anybody. You can't call anybody. There's no power on your cell phone. Your landlines aren't working. Your ham radio that you do depend on for stuff like that. Hopefully somebody had a battery in some type of a cage, a air cage. And hopefully that radio has been covered up too for that certain time that happens. But who else will have another radio? You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
Right, and for the average person, like, how long do you wait? And then after you wait a certain amount of time that you figure is enough, then what are you going to do? Are you going to walk into town? I mean, if you live out in the country or if you live in a town, you know, at what point do you start thinking about what to do? I mean, what steps would be taken as you begin to realize that the electricity isn't coming back?
And it's not a good day. And all of a
You know,
sudden,
and
weeks, months, maybe never.
right, and as far as like a celestial event, it's actually not abnormal. I mean, we're part of a, you know, galactic um, place, you know,
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of activity for our sun to, you know, have a little burp of solar energy and have it come our way. You know, in a galactic sense, it really isn't an abnormal,
No.
you know, event.
Right.
It's something that just happens. And, you know, they monitor now the stars that they see have gone out of existence. And I know that they're waiting for one right now that, you know, you could see that it's exploded. So, I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
It's not rare.
No.
But, and so for our sun to have a hiccup that affects the earth is just one of those things that could happen.
I don't
And I
want
was
to
just,
be. Yeah, I don't want to be around that happens. I do not want to be around.
oh, me either. But I do, I always try to prepare for things. And I just was
yeah.
thinking, well, gosh, you know,
Well,
if
what
that
if?
did happen, what would you want to have on hand to make sure that you would be able to either reach safety or, you know, to be able to make it?
Firewood would be very important.
Yeah.
Firewood. Somehow to get that water out of that well. Hopefully a pump, maybe hand pump out of that
All right.
well. That'd be smart. You got water, you get heat, maybe. Depends what time of year it is. Yeah, it's a lot of things to think about. What if, you know?
Right, and I don't mean to like do this like to be like a prepper survivalist,
Right.
you know, where you've got
Have
like
your
a bunch of
candles,
cool
folks. Your
weapons.
candles. The candles are for sale for $5.95 here on. No, can't do that.
Well, you know, I'm just talking about
Like-
more. It's like where I live, we got iced in for about a week and a half,
Yes.
and it did knock out the cell phones, and it did, and the emergency vehicles couldn't get up here because where I'm at, the roads are really steep, and being covered in ice, we were on our own.
Yep.
And the water company, they shut off the water
Of course.
to protect the infrastructure.
Yep.
So we were without water, without power, and no phones for about a week and a half. And fortunately, I live in an area that has a lot of woods, so the fireplace kept us warm, but also allowed us to, you know, cook food.
Yeah. There you go.
And
Whatever thing you got to your Coleman whatever would work for you. Let's go to the phones. Let's get some callers if we can.
To talk with Glenn Larry, deep in the desert of Nevada. Lines are open at 1-702-874-1114. That's 702-874-1114.
And it's what if, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. What if that happened? It would be more than just that, I think. I'll tell you for sure. Would it be havoc? Would it be, oh my God, everybody's, you know, freaking out? I think folks would come together more than you think. I think these little committees I have would come together and share what we could cook and what we would do and meet somewhere where there's a gas stove. Maybe somebody has some gas, propane, what have you. And I think maybe it's this little community we have should talk about that maybe, one of our get-togethers. That might be important to do. Gardens, community garden,
yes,
you know, type of thing. But with logic and critical thinking, what are you going to do? Who's going to get how much? And, you know, this type of thing. Yeah, it's going to be somehow, I need a director for that, probably. But this one's voted in, and everybody agrees. I mean, at that point, we're already going to be hurting. I think so. But who has gas in their cars and what have you, may use that fuel for something or whatever. But yeah, something to think about. I get all these preparers guys. I hear these, Patriot stuff. Get this, get that, get this generator. Whatever. But the key is if there's no electricity and you can't, even a spark plug won't hold anything. You got nothing. You're kind of going back in the Western cowboy days. I wonder if the
Right.
Pioneer would be open. Probably so. Terrible.
Right.
It's a fun place. Anyway, what do you got planned for Halloween, sir?
Well, me, I'm just gonna stay home.
Are you?
Yeah, I live out in the countryside, and it's nice and peaceful out here. So I just
You don't get any trick or treaters and stuff, huh?
no.
That's nice. Yeah. Boy, when I was a kid, my kids, my godkids, and my sisters and brothers and whatever. My God, that was a haul. We would have these big, we'd have unbelievable. It was sinful. Candy freak out time must have been the most wired neighborhood that I ever grew up in Olympia. I mean, we had pillowcases full of candy, not one but two.
Mm-hmm.
And you always know the people's house to go to. They gave you the biggest candy bars. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the rich people, go over there. No, not seriously. But you get, and anything was open, we would go through things, look at things, and throw them out. People would make home, ball, what do you call it, popcorn, caramel, whatever it was. You remember those back in the day? And they'd wrap them up in the, But back in the day, if you remember, they didn't have much wrappings on the candy in a candy shop. You just reached in and got what you wanted, and you paid for it. But everything's wrapped now, except there's a couple places. I guess I was very impressed with this Candyland over here at Terrible Herps, right down the street from me. Big gas station. A lot of great folks that work, and I used to work with them at the landing and also at the Ghost Strike. But Candyland, oh my, all that candy over there. My gosh. Do kids eat a lot of candy still? Or do you think they've kind of cooled off on that?
Oh, that's a question I couldn't answer. I mean,
The parents going, no, you can't have that. You can have this, because mom knows how hyped little Susie and Bobby's going to be for the next 3 hours, So I guess maybe that's a factor, probably many.
Well, there seems to be a movement of moving away from. I don't know if it's a financial thing or not, because I know that when I was young and you went into the supermarket, they had huge bags of like Snickers and Milky Way and candy bars like that.
Uh-huh.
When I go into the market these days and they have bags of the same thing, it's like, boy, those sure seem a lot smaller than they were when I was a kid.
You used to get a nice big box of Cracker Jacks, a little toy inside, and now the box is like shrunk down to almost nothing, like a postcard size. I would go, what happened to that Cracker Jacks, man? Even the sailor looks different on the cover. I don't know. New things. I don't know what they're trying to push. But, yeah.
Well, I've heard the toys aren't as good either, but
Yeah.
I haven't had Cracker Jack in years.
They even come with toys in them. I used to have a whistle in there and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Do you remember they used to have records on some of the cereal boxes?
I remember that. You cut out the
and
record.
put it on your record player.
Yeah, the Archies. Remember that one?
Yeah.
The Archies. What was that? I don't forget the product. What it was. It was not Fruit Loops, but it was
Be like Tricks, and
Gold
Captain
Nugget,
Crunch and
something.
all
I don't
that.
know. Yeah. So many in our days. You walk down that aisle now, you see all sorts of types of cereal now. But
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, I used to sit there before school and I'd have my breakfast, and I'd read the back of that box. I'd read every word that was on the side of it, the front of it, just to block out my sister so I could eat. Oh my God, the kids. I don't even want to look at you in the morning, you know. I love my sister. Don't get me wrong, but it just brings back memories. And I'm sure you folks have memories like that out there too. And you're probably chuckling. You know, I remember that. Yeah. We had it made, I'll tell you. I'm born in 56, and those folks that are born, you know, of course, later on those years had their great times too. And I hope that the kids today are having a good time, you know, in a very innocent and great way. But yeah, you know, a lot of things haven't changed in that sense, I don't think, of childhood. We've got into a period now where everybody has a phone, and now at the kitchen table, everybody's on their phone. You know, you walk into a household, mom, dad, everybody's on a phone. They're not talking, they're eating and with their phone, and they get up and leave the table. What type of life is that? Crazy.
Right.
You know? I would take the phones and I'd go into a drawer and I'd turn it off. 6 o'clock is eating time. We're all together, if you can get the family together these days, and have a discussion, talk about things. I mean, communication. You don't want to be socially retarded or something like that. You're not talking and communicating. I mean, come on. But yeah, a lot of things going on. AI.
Well, that's the other thing we had when we were growing up is I used to love to listen to the shows on the radio.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
We had to use imagination. It's like the Shadow Knows.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was fun to listen to. And then they had the Lone Ranger.
Yep.
Was on the radio, and you know, back in the day, which UFO movie was that? Where
The Invaders, a Quinn Martin production.
where they actually thought it was really happening.
Oh, that was Orson Welles, The War of the Worlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was done on the radio.
Yeah, I played that one time for I think Halloween or some other one of those deals. Yeah, that's in the 50s.
And this is where people could have fun. So,
Yeah.
you know, like
They weren't jumping out of windows. I thought it was so real. Yeah, that happened. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. People actually thought that was going on because that was a big wave in the 50s, a UFO thing, you know, and pretty crazy.
it is.
But today,
Well, it shows how fun that radio can be.
yeah. Why not? Grandma loved it. She's flying in the air now. No, but no, but I don't mean anything bad by that, folks. It's just comedy. Comes out once in a while. Yeah. How much fun can it be? Well, we about 3 more minutes left of the show, if that. But again, I want to thank you, Mr. Thomas, for coming on there. And we're going to have some more.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you betcha. We're going to have some more folks coming on and with their stories. Yeah, I think we maybe caught some folks off guard with some interesting things to talk about. But always feel free to call and talk, folks. It's a lot of fun being on radio and having you on too. And we thank you for listening from wherever you may be. Be kind to each other, my gosh, and have a plan maybe yourself. What if? What if? Make a list. What if this? What if this? Then have an ABC answer for each of those what ifs. You think that would work out, Mr. Thomas? You think so?
Yes, I do.
Because they're reaching out for something that they can solve themselves. And but we do want to thank everybody for listening to K-Ghost Radio and 101.3 M1610. And of course, now you don't forget to like us on, of course, TikTok, K-Ghost Radio. Yeah. Be well. God bless. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And again, Mr. Thomas, thank you so very much. Be well. Good night, everybody. God bless. See you next Wednesday night. Oh, yeah. Happy Halloween.